Hello?
Good morning, everybody, and here we are in the bee building. I was just hanging out trying to see if we could actually get, what's the word? I can't remember today. See if we could actually get some more honey products, just get them going so that I've got actually something in storage and in stock. There we go. All right. So that's what we're doing. I was hanging out AFK yesterday trying to breed up more bees and see if we could get more honey products. Not actually getting a whole lot done in that category. Part of it I'm discovering appears to be we have bees with pollen on them, and then they never actually end up in, I shouldn't say never, but they have a hard time getting themselves into a hive. I'm not quite sure why that is. I mean, it could be because I push them around a little bit when I'm going up and down the ladder. Sometimes they prevent me from going down the ladder. There we go. Go, guys, go. But yeah, they don't actually get where they're supposed to be going, which is a little bit of a challenge. But today we're going to be doing some more of the digging down of a hill, because we just need to get that done, just nice and chill. And we've got a Geek Out running already. 2 songs by Lady Gaga. And at the moment, I can only think of one. Let's see. Oh, well, so much for sleeping. Okay, I guess I left my bed behind. That's all right, it happens. I'll just borrow one of the ones in here. Those are the only 2 I know, actually, now that I think about it. I was thinking of Poker Face, and then I couldn't think of Bad Romance. Oh, you got it covered. Okay, 4 films involving a plane crash. films, that is. I suppose technically you could say Airplane and Castaway. But I'm sure there's more than that. Let's leave some of these over here. I have a bunch. Oh, haha, there's a bed. Oh well, now I know. Okay, let's get back to work. It would be. I've got pop culture movies. Okay, that's red. Hello, chicken. Good morning to you. Geek out, pop culture, red. Find. Plain. Next. There we go. Oh, right. Mini games. What have we got here? Mini games. Wrong one. There. Enjoy. One down. Errors. All right. So let's just keep on taking this layer down. I'd like to try and get it down to the bottom of the beacons. Not necessarily all at once. That's the aim. And we'll see how well we do. I have found a hole that we're going to have to deal with. So the first of several caves that are underneath. Not a fan. I did light it up. But yeah, we're going to find a lot of fun stuff inside these things eventually. So this is one where I'm going to try and be a little bit better at remembering to sleep. Because these ones aren't all lit up. They should be, but they're not. So yeah. And now that I know there's caves underneath that one, makes me have to be a little slower as we go through. Okay. I apologize, I haven't actually got myself sort of woke up yet. I guess that sounds dumb, but my morning's been going okay, just not putting too fine a point upon it. When a chick hits a certain age, she doesn't always sleep all that well, for other reasons, and yeah, it was not a great night. So, suffice to say, we're here. That's not why I'm choosing to tear things down today, but I do want to take things down before we start putting some more of, as I was saying earlier, our guild profession buildings. I think the other part of it too is that we've had, I should say funky weather, but we've got winter weather a little bit more appropriate to the year, which is just one of those cold, after you've had a warm spell, possibly damp types of things where you just get a little bit of aches or whatever and want to just stay in bed. Nobody wants to get up, but that's not the way it works, and people who don't go to work, you know, it doesn't pay the bills and all that jazz. So yeah, you need to be wide awake. And it's a Tuesday, we can be quiet. It's a quiet Tuesday, a little more, I guess a little more ASMR, I suppose, unintentionally. But we'll get there. I'm actually quite surprised how many emerald ore blocks I'm finding, because I honestly had thought that was supposed to be a fairly uncommon thing. But I mean, there's 2 here, and yesterday I picked up 2. I'm just tearing this hill down. So I don't know why there'd be more, but hey, I'm not going to argue. The best bit about, I shouldn't say the best, one of the good things about being in taking over a village as my sort of main base space is that when I come across something like an ore block, I have the luxury of leaving it as an ore block. So it can be, in theory, it could be a decorative piece at some point, just because I don't need to break it up to make it to be spendable, which is nice. a bit of a surprise yesterday when I first found this cave, from above at least, that the chickens nearly tried to push me in. Stupid chickens. That was a little different. I'm not used to that. I'm used to being able to shove the chickens around and not the other way. Not the other way? Pushing me is just a surprise. Is it just me or does this tropical music feel kind of like, I don't know, 70s? You know, like if you picture a lot of those, yeah, it just feels very 70s to me. This is a song called, I believe it's Playa del Colina from an artist called Giant's Nest. We're on the tropical chill list today, so it may be kind of sleepy for some of you. We do need to get ourselves into a more yeah, so we do need to get ourselves into a more active song set at some point. It feels very, very chill. It was ducking my voice and I had it down a little lower than I usually do. Some of the playlists seem to be a bit, like their bass volume level seems to be a bit high and run into collisions with the filters for max volume that I've got. So they sound weird, and then that just results in me turning them down a little bit because their max volume filter bounce distorts every once in a while. Just some playlists do it and some playlists don't. I think also the other part was actually last time I turned it down because of that reason. I hadn't managed to update the audio developer kit elements for the card I've got right now, the encoding card, and so OBS was complaining. And I finally figured out what that referred to and how to fix it, so I got that dealt with. And maybe that's helping, I'm not really sure. Oops. Just so I don't fall in that one. Nice if we only have one cave hole at a time. We'll try not to fall into too many other ones. Depending on your point of view, tearing stuff down does give you a lot of resources. Just not always the resources you find useful, but technically you get resources. This is probably not the world's most efficient way to be switching back and forth between tools and just doing one single row. It'd probably be a little more efficient if I just stuck with one tool and took down all of whatever that type of material is and then came back for the other one. Something that just occurred to me. Maybe I'm just sleepy. I don't know. Anyway, let's give that a go. What have we got for... Yeah, there's a lot of dirt here, so I'm going to try and do that, and then we'll come back for the stone. So that'll probably help us a little bit. And it seems to be in most cases, not always, but in a lot of cases here, there's stone before we get into a cave. As I said, not all cases, because the one that I found earlier was one of the exceptions. Pete's sake. There we go. Yeah. Every once in a while, you know, you need to just do a chill activity, a chill project. It's just required. Hello, chicken. Oh, just about night. I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go over to the library and pick up that extra bed that we had in the box and bring it over here and put it on the second beacon. That way I've got a bed on each. Just makes it that little bit easier to avoid mobs when we're out here. Nope, not in that one. This one. Let's put some stuff away while we're here. I'll pick up the box and take it with me. It's like, I've got a bed. Why am I not using the bed? That would be, you know, sensible. I'm being a little quiet today. I'm not intending to. Yeah, I don't know why. But if I'm speaking too quietly, please do let me know, and I'll kick up something to make it work better. There we go. Probably gonna need some more rockets fairly soon. These houses do look good. One of the other things we could spend a little bit of time on this time, just to break up the stream a bit, is to do a bit more trading with the villagers. I mean, while that's not necessarily the world's most exciting thing, hey, at some point along the line, it's got to be done. So I can do more of that. We need to get some farmers giving us suspicious stew, which I don't think we actually... I'm wrong. We do have suspicious stew, but we don't have it, what's the word? Easily available, I suppose. Although the shop did have enough to actually, what's the word? Actually fill in all the signs, now that I think about it. So basically there's a little bit more work to do in Cook Street, not a whole ton. And then we need to do some, the major part of the trading would be to restock and fill up more for the Hamatime shop, because that one is in sore need of actually getting more full. I mean, books in particular, which we still have a lot of librarian trading to do on that front, but even just the armor and stuff, it doesn't look full enough. So it looks kind of like somebody who couldn't be bothered to hire stock clerks at the night. So I need to rectify that, because it bugs me every time I go in there to double check and see if somebody bought something, and I'm catching too many empty barrels, and it just doesn't feel good. So yeah, it's just one of those needs to be done elements. As far as this distance goes, we're probably going to go at least as far as the beacon will let us, and then we'll see. It's like top layer or beacon, whichever drops first. But I have to try and be careful not to leave stuff behind, because that bugs me. I know I've dropped a bunch of entities, like loose blocks, in that cave. I'm just not going down there. Like, they can despawn. I'm sorry. You know, I'm starting to learn that this idea of catching up on the server, it's all a matter of opinion. I mean, there's a point past which certain activities or shops or whatever become less useful, because everybody's got everything, and so in that sense, I'm behind. I'm always behind. But when it comes to sort of keeping up with the Joneses part, I'm starting to realize, A, I never will be, and B, that sometimes it doesn't really matter. I know it sounds dumb, but if it's going to ruin my play experience for myself to be worried about it, some days I can deal with that. Other days it really annoys me, you know? Just one of those things that is a no-win situation. So I'm better at it some days than others in not letting it bug me. But yeah. Fantastic Sherlock Fox actually had a fairly decent streak. I don't know if it's streak of luck or whatever he's doing to find diamonds, but he did pretty good with diamonds this season. So for a long time, he was my diamond supplier, which doesn't sound right when I say it that way, but yeah, he was keeping us in diamonds even though we're not co-basing. But now, actually, I was doing the math the other day, and based on what the shop was made and how much I flipped back into it, or into supplies for different things, I think I'm almost on par, which is not bad. Well, it's my turn to help support you in that case. Let's do this. I'm gonna go grab another empty shulker so that we can put dirt in it. We'll stick with grass blocks for now. I'll take it with me because, of course, we're going to fill up fairly soon. And this one's an addiction to have at least one with me at all times. Let's put this. That's the dirt. Okay, and that one. There. Now I'm semi-organized, right? Isn't that how it works? All right, let's rinse and repeat.
Oh, hello there! Hello there!
Hello, Bob. How are you doing today? How was your work day? Oops. Always glad to see you. My bot is actually more polite than I am today. Good on you for a change, Oswin. Oh, it's not actually. That's the one that's me. I keep forgetting what I've got coming out as me versus what I got coming out as the bot, which sounds really awkward. But one of the nice things about StreamerBot is you can, on a I guess action by action basis, tell the bot which user to execute chat as, which is kind of nice. It was good. Meeting free and therefore productive. Ooh. Ooh, productive days. Well, those are few and far between. Definitely worth celebrating. So what we're up to today is I'm just peeling down more layers on the map because I'm deciding that I'd like to have a fairly flat zone to be able to put in the profession buildings. I know it's not very realistic. I was all fussy about that before, but no, I'm not going to terraform Shrewsbury into this. That'd be a little too ridiculous. But I'm also not really up for spending the inordinately crazy amount of time that it would take to try and figure out how to incorporate a hill inside a building. I know I could build off-sized floors and stuff like that. That's probably the easiest way to do it, but this is the decision I'm making, and I'm sticking to it. We may end up with some janky buildings on different levels later on, but sometimes dead flat just works for me. So yeah, it's all good. Meeting free days are awesome though, because as you said, sometimes you can get your nose to the grindstone and just get into a project without interruptions. It's fantastic. Provided, of course, they're not meeting free because somebody said, oh, well, we're going to cancel the meeting, but then you need to send a slide deck to everybody who was supposed to be at the meeting, which is actually more work than showing up at the meeting. You know, those days are not fun. I don't normally clear in a rather disorganized pattern like this, but some days just gotta go. But no, the reason I don't normally clear in a pattern like this is then I feel like I have to go back and pick it all up. Whereas if you do it in straight lines, then the game picks it up as you go. So I don't know why I was doing it weirdly like that. Meeting free days can be good, provided you can get your focus on it and actually get some projects moving. I find it hard to transition between interrupt heavy and meeting free heavy, or meeting free days. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it would be nice to have sections of your day where, so in other words, few meetings in a day, and then other days are fairly meeting free. But if you had few meetings nearly every day and actually had zones where you could have your head down for a while and then get interrupted to come up for a bit for a meeting, great. But the ones where there's loads of meetings and they feel all back to back, or they're overrunning their slots or whatever, are really annoying. And then sometimes the ones that have no meetings can be really annoying because it's easy to be either on edge expecting distractions that never come, or so uninterrupted that it's hard to drag yourself back to doing the work that you thought you had to do. Okay, I have not missed. Can I get? How far can I get? Let's see. Oh, the haste is. Yeah. Okay. Good. We're still inside the beacon ranges, so I can just keep on going. See how far I can get before the beacon runs out on this one. Get some data sorting stuff to do so you can get your teeth into it. Well, that's cool. Cross-referencing between two sources to align them. So good to not have to break off. Well, that's true. I was thinking more if you have a meeting in the afternoon, then you've got all morning to work, or vice versa. But that's, yeah. Being able to get your teeth into something where you're doing a lot of minute work like that is really helpful. I do remember when I was working for data entry crews, we had to do a lot of that cross-referencing stuff as well. So for curiosity then, what do you do for your environment at work? What I mean is, for example, like Fantastic Sherlock Fox puts on a radio station in the background, or because we work from home, it's become often like a stream in the background that he's pretty quiet with. Do you have a favorite radio station? Does the office pump in some sort of streaming music or something like that for you guys? What sort of environment? Or are you one that's like a heads down with silence kind of guy? Just kind of curious. There we go. I'm gonna have a coffee break just to get brain going a little more. There we go. Ah, I see. That's a good plan. I thought that was what you meant. Yeah, audiobooks. On the podcast front, do they usually end up being business related, or do you tend to just get your work done while you're listening to podcasts you enjoy? Fantastic Sherlock Fox, I kind of snicker sometimes because he'll be listening to podcasts that are business related. And sometimes the reasoning is he says, then I can go for a stretch around the office as a break when my legs start to get a little numb. But I'm not actually technically off the clock because I'm still doing the educational learning for the year. I find that amusing because I'm not quite sure how that works. It probably does on some level, but with my distraction level, it really would not be a thing. I kind of envy people who can, get head down into stuff, surface for a little while, and then dig back in later. Comedy or soccer fanzine products? Ooh, you said soccer. Ooh, too much internet time, man. Football fanzines for sure. No, yeah, nothing too serious for sure. Yeah, because if it's serious or heavy, it's also can be more distracting because it'll draw you in. There's a lot of different types of books that if I was listening to audiobooks for myself, I would probably have to be listening to a lot of light fare as audiobooks while I was doing other things. But if I was actually wanting to listen to something a little heavier, I'd have to not be doing other activities. Well, that's true. I mean, I know Fantastic Sherlock Fox, the industry you're in with like the security side, can be, needing to know what's in the news kind of deal. So I follow that. My mother said that before she retired, because she was a a librarian for law firms. And before she retired, she got into the point where she was starting to listen to podcast summaries of the news within the last 24 hours or whatever, because she what's the word? Because she would then be able to do the newspaper scans for the day. So one of the things that was part of her job was to actually get the physical paper newspapers, because she knew the lawyers would want certain articles out of them. And so by listening to the podcast summary of the news for the day, she'd know some of which newspapers to target and which articles to pull, and it actually made her day a little bit easier. So that was some of her travel on the bus fare in the morning. Nope, no hot sauce here. We highly recommend getting yourself a holster for it. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there are plenty of meme-style pictures on the internet. I've known a couple of people who actually made them, and they made literally like 6-gun holsters to hold their Tabasco hot sauce. And apparently, for one of our scout leaders who is very much into his hot sauce, he actually thought that was quite funny and has once or twice attempted to commission a holster for it since then. I would say generally the international aisles in your local grocery store. That sounds weird, but I'm in Canada, so for example, we have the Real Canadian Superstore in Western Canada, and depending on what neighborhood you live in, they'll actually have different hot sauces available in the international aisle, partly related to the community that particular store is in. It's been a while since I've had chicken tikka. It's a good one. But yummy. I will admit, I do like some of the more commercialized styles of chicken tikka, just because we don't know too many people to have the opportunity for, I guess you could say, homemade versions. And part of it is because some of the people I know that would stereotypically fit the nationality to make those dishes as sort of like a cultural norm, they have decided that nope, it's too westernized and won't make it for guests and stuff when they have them over. For example, like there are Asian people who refuse to do a lot of the things that we think of when we go out for Chinese food. They're like, no thanks, it was invented in the West, it's not our thing, no way, not happening. Which, frankly, can't blame them. Okay, grass. Oh, well, if you lost it somewhere, I would say sometimes retracing your steps backwards helps. You know, or you may find when you do manage to locate it in the end, you may find that you've accidentally trolled yourself with the location you put it in, as opposed to trolling someone else. So I would say that. On the other hand, another spot that works fairly well to check would be places where at the moment you might have thought, hey, this is right in front of my face, I won't forget because it's right here. And then, of course, it's always in a good place, but the last place you left it isn't always necessarily the best place. It sounds funny, but I do that with my coffee cup all the time. Hello, Yellow, how are you doing?
Oh, hello there. Hello there.
You already hit it. Well, depends. Did your house have a pantry? Or is it possible you came in to the room where you would normally use your hot sauce and had your hands full, so you put it down while looking for something else? I know someone that accidentally they put their bottle, it wasn't hot sauce, it was something, I think it was honey, but they put the honey down and then they covered the the honey bottle with their tea cozy by mistake. Because they went, oh yeah, I'm going to have a cup of tea and then I'll put a little honey in it. And they just took the tea cozy off the pot and filled their tea and then couldn't figure out where they'd put the honey. And that's the kind of thing I would do. You know, or it'd end up in the wrong cupboard because instead of grabbing the box of tea bags to put it away, they grabbed the honey bottle and didn't mentally clue in, and so they absentmindedly put the honey bottle in where the tea bags should have gone. you know, so there's random things you can do like that. But I would definitely say take some time. Feel free to lurk and give it a good, you know, take some. I don't know how long it would take depending on the size of the place you're in, but take some time and just dig around looking for stuff in some odd places, because once you find it, you might actually remember why you put it there. So good to see you, Yellow. All the awesome people are coming in today. It's totally true. Hey, Gary, welcome in, and thank you for being the first here and our biggest fan. I did hear the first fire off, and for once didn't stop in the middle sentence, which is kind of a, in a way, that's almost a score. Hey, Benson, good to see you. Welcome on in and enjoy your lurk. A little bit of a late start, bit of an odd start, but hey, we're getting there. For those of you that may be getting a deja vu to last year's pixelated art, you're not crazy. I am actually peeling stuff down, but no, it's not for art this time. And our hill. Oh, I was like, how excessive can I go? I think this will be the last layer of this particular height we're going to pull down. So I will take it down to the end of this layer, which you can kind of see goes to the bit southeast. And I know we don't have a beacon out here. It's probably not worth putting one if this is the last layer I'm going to take down, and it's only dirt, so it's not a huge deal. But, wow, that's a bit of a hole. Maybe I'll fill that in with some of the dirt. I don't know. We'll see. But this will be the last layer I'm taking down at this level, so I'm not too fussed on speed with this one. Crazy never, but I'm certifiable. Certifiably what? Punctual? That's probably not it. Certifiably, consistent? Extreme? Amazing? I'm gonna run out of adjectives here. I'm not quite as eloquent with words as Fantastic Sherlock Fox is. I are the crazy one. Well, you at least are the best speller today. I'll give you that. And of course you got Fred Rogers to say hello today. That's a good one. Can never go wrong with Mr. Rogers. Well, unless you want saccharinely family friendly. Then one would have figured Mr. Rogers is probably the wrong call. Gary, I just wanted to say, although I did not expect to end up in Jade's stream yesterday, just timings, I barely missed the poodle. I was highly amused how you enjoyed messing with her. She was calling you out on it left, right, and center, and you were still enjoying messing with her, and I think that's amusing because she doesn't easily get riled up about silly things, and yet she's a lot of fun to tease sometimes. All right, let's go back to bed. Ow. Well, I hit what I was supposed to be on, I guess. Alrighty. Oh yes, I forgot to add the work lurk tag today. I said I was going to. And I forgot. Which way? South? Okay. We're always messing with Jade. Yeah, but that's a lot of fun. I don't see anything wrong with that. It's not just because it's Jade. Like, I know it's all in good fun type of teasing. If it was something that was really bothering her, she'd let you know. Right? So yeah, that's cool. And sometimes the sounds on Blurp are frustratingly inconsistent volume. And so when we as streamers hear them, some of them don't bother us at all, like cute little cats and stuff that make lovely little meow sounds are fantastic. But some of the other ones they play are very, very loud. It's not just Blurp, it's like stream stickers do the same thing. Some of them are beautifully quiet and some of them are very, very loud. I have no idea where that came from. It's okay. Who, me? Smoke detectors, no. Google Homes, yes. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm peeling down these layers because, I don't know, OCD, I guess, maybe? I don't know. But when I take down some of this stuff, even though I probably have enough space, I think I wanted to have some of these layers down to be able to do the specific occupation houses. Wow, I can't even think today. Let's finish a sentence. Let's finish a sentence or two. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to go all the way down southeast, actually, because that looks a little weird. But I started something, so maybe I should. We're on level 125. Most of the houses that you see to the right, the two-layer ones, are level 120. I don't think we need to go quite that low, because that would be making the majority of the town dead flat, which doesn't have the visual appeal. The kid of Jade worried I was going to break her brain again. That's not all that much of a surprise, to be honest with you. I mean, once you break a person's brain once, there is something to be said for the slight anxiety that ensues. I always wonder if it's going to happen again, and soon. But I also did hear some of the good news about one of the cons that she and her family are going to be going to, so that would definitely break me. I'll tell you that. I don't have any cons or anything on my plans, but yeah, making very expensive things happen that you didn't think were going to happen can break a person quite effectively. It sounds to me, from what I see from people like Maribel Jade, that sometimes more than having stuff, she it sounds to me as one of those people who agrees with me that experiential stuff, like life experiences, can be long-term more valuable than anything. So in my experience, we actually lived, dumbly enough, we actually lived in something that was generally known as a fairly bad neighborhood growing up in our city. More that it was just full of people who weren't overly affluent. And our particular street had some, like in our sort of surrounding blob, it had been old enough that it had a lot of fairly nice neighbors who had kids and whatever, and so they were generally pretty good. And quite a lot of them actually shared the same opinion. But they'd be tradespeople type jobs, or like mechanics, plumbers, that kind of thing. So speech patterns and stuff are not necessarily the most highfalutin kind of stuff. And yes, I know I chose poor terminology for it. But where this point is going is to say that several of the families in our little blob had friendships had decided that rather than moving out and getting themselves, bigger houses in fancier neighborhoods and nicer cars and all that kind of stuff, they decided instead they were going to do things like start taking annual or semi-annual vacations with their family to be able to show them different things. Or our family did like some of the vacations, but then also we did things like going to the theater, to see plays, or to the Philharmonic, to like cultural type stuff. So we still lived in a fairly nasty neighborhood, but that was the kind of thing, which actually worked out well because educationally, my brother and I were considered bright. So we bussed across the city every day for programs that supported that. And it was great because my parents could afford, to let us go on the school trips or have some of the cool things. Like we had a computer in our house far ahead of a lot of the other friends, and that sort of, my dad was a bit of a nerd in that respect. His nerddom is very outdated now. Very, very outdated. But anyway, suffice to say, Jade strikes me as that type of personality that wants to give her kids experiences rather than stressing out too much about affluence and costs of things. And it doesn't necessarily keep you in a financial poor place overall, but it can make life a little bit tougher to make everything work. So finding people that support that can definitely make someone feel a little bit like rubber some days. Hello, chickie. Look at you. It's because I have it. This looks like I've run into a creeper at some point. I don't like things underneath, so that suggests that there's a good-sized cave down there. Down the holes, and I don't really want to deal with them. Oh, it goes up there instead of down. Interesting. Where does it go? Just these two? Okay, then it goes down. Alright. You only tortured her hard on Friday. I missed Friday and I felt really bad for it. Sometimes when I've done my Thursday, I'm kind of like, okay, Friday's my day, which is dumb because it's not really. But I can't remember what I did Friday. I think I stayed up stupid late on Thursday night. Shouldn't have. And then what did I miss on Friday? Why did I miss it on Friday? And then my kids have a half day on Friday from school. So I keep saying I want to do stuff with them. I can't remember exactly what else happened. I think I chose to sleep in a little bit. Just because I'm a stay-at-home mom, so if they're already at school, then I have a little bit of flex. We don't sit around in our PJs all day, but sometimes if it's cold, yeah, I'm just gonna stay in bed for a bit. Oh, I'm getting squirreled on another piece. Okay. Okay, hang on a sec here. Gotta draw the line somewhere. How big is this distraction? Not bad, so maybe I will take it out. Okay. Distraction ahoy. Let's see what I want. 125. Let's go to 125. Let's tear this up. Now, I mean, I will admit, I'm making presumptions about Jade and the Trolls, which aren't necessarily fair. I do not know. There could be a lot of other things going on, but I think she's making smart choices for the most part with what she does, and I've talked about it a little bit off and on, but in another universe, Jade and I would be very, very similar. And there's different times that there's just things she says that I'm like, okay, did I just say that or think that because I've had her on, you know, in the background while I'm doing something else? And I get squirreled by what she was talking about off in a direction that, like, she'll remind me of something, and I'll be thinking about whatever it is she's been talking about, sort of my own little thread of that, and then she'll say something that is almost exactly word for word what was going through my head and likely to, you know, have popped up next, kind of thing. And it's eerily creepy. And I've mentioned it to her once or twice. She says, yeah, that you know, it's kind of neat, but sort of creeps her out as well that happens. And I said, yeah, sorry, I probably shouldn't have told you about it, because that makes it all kinds of awkward now. But it's one of those, it is what it is. Okay. So anyway, so sometimes I can slide into making assumptions that are not appropriate just because other things seem too familiar. Anyhow, I mean, one similarity that she and I share is somehow, unbeknownst to me what on earth it is that ever attracted him or keeps him here, I've got a Gary in my stream, which is absolutely fantastic. Okay, what are you doing? No, I don't really need to have... Why do I have cats out here? Aren't cats supposed to be near villages? Why do I have cats out here? Actually, there's only one other situation I've seen cats too far away, in my mind, from where the village is. And that happened to be just sheer luck related to... Ooh, ouch. Just sheer luck related to the fact that there were enough villager zombies underneath, but that really is not meant to be enough to trigger a cat, so I don't know. So then, theoretically, that could imply, Fox, that you have something in common with Jaeger Troll. How's that for a scary thought? All right, I need to switch up the tools. See if I've got the toolbox, because I don't want to risk losing that shovel. See, because this is efficiency 3, silk touch and breaking and mending. That's 4. Maybe I could probably have a 5 out of it if I put those two together. But I really don't want to waste them. And I could probably use another pick pretty soon. We can get that at the time. What's this? That one's full. And we're going to end up with a bit more dirt, and then I think we're going to end up in the blocks. So let's throw one of these down. Do I have... I don't have a randoms bin at the moment. Okay. I'm going to need more rockets the rate I'm going. You ended up being dubbed Guardian Troll by Little Troll. Ooh. Ooh, I wonder what that means. I wonder what that means. It's very, very high praise, but still. Curious. Okay, I guess we need a third one. Because I need a randoms bin. Normally the randoms bin are funky different colors, but now I've gone and used them all for other things. This one. Dirt, where'd you go? There. That's fine. Oop. Here. Okay. So we'll go dirt bin. We'll go randoms bin. Toolbox, you can go away. And then this. Like, one of the things that I joked about being, what's the word, OCD. It's not really. I'm married to someone who's far worse for OCD at times. Recovering, I guess we should say. But Fantastic Shower Fox used to be dreadful when it came to OCD behaviors. When we first moved in together, things like he would, wash his hands 30 times, and it would get all dry and itchy and whatever. Or we'd end up with things like when we locked up the condo, he'd go around, and we only really have one door to the place, but he'd go around and check all the doors and he'd check the doors and he'd check the windows, and he'd check the sliding door to the balcony thing we had, like 3 or 4 times a night. And then every once in a while I'd volunteer to help, quote unquote, lock up as we were headed to bed. And either he'd say, no, that's fine, I can do it. Or, sure, go right ahead. And then he'd go and check it 2 or 3 times anyways. And that doesn't happen anymore. But I learned eventually, if he says he's going to lock up, just let him do it. Because I don't even think he realizes it, especially in the evening when he's getting tired. I don't think he realizes it, that if I've locked up stuff, then at minimum he's often checking the remote systems that we've got, because we've got smart home stuff, and so they can report whether or not the locks are locked. And yeah, he'll check that. He ended up being... Oh, I get it. Okay. Something about donating 80% of the funds that he got. Well, yeah. That's true. That's not OCD, that's called being cautious. You do it as a nightmare routine. Well, if you're going to do it as a nightmare routine and actually get up and sleepwalk your way to doing it, that's great. Just make sure you get back to bed. Whether it be pajamas or anything else, like pajama pants, or if you're, I don't know, a shorts to bed kind of person. I don't mean underwear, I just mean like short shorts. But that sounds wrong. Or night shirt or whatever kind of person. Just make sure you get back to bed afterwards. That's 90% of the time we do, but there's the odd one where one or the other of us will just not be quite with it. Even if we're awake and not sleepwalking, we'll just sit down for a second before we head back upstairs, and next thing you know, it's like 4 hours later and you're waking up. So, long story short being, I think it's less for me being like OCD stuff, because I really don't think I have obsessive compulsive in that sense. more obsessive, I would say, in potentially more of an ADHD sense, as in my brain goes, I gotta deal with this right now. But then I'm also a patterns person. Minecraft is weird because there's square blocks, but things look kind of dumb if the land is too square, too flat, too this, too that. And yet, because I'm such a patterns and square edge kind of person, particularly with crafting and stuff, outside of Minecraft, that it's an odd fight that I haven't managed to win yet. Just keeping things looking organic in such a cubic world. We're into miscellaneous. 4 celebrities who've been roasted on television. Ooh. This says anytime. Okay. There's a lot of celebrities that have been roasted on television. Let's see. I mean, Jerry Lewis was definitely in that way. I think people have roasted Jack Nicholson. Now it says roasted, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in an official roast party where you have a ton of other guests, frequently celebrities, come up and tell little speeches and roast you in that. So it doesn't have to be the old-fashioned concept of a celebrity roast. I mean, there's a bunch that have been roasted through various jokes on, say, the speeches in the Oscars, for example. I know William Shatner got roasted as well. I mean, people, once they're out of office, some of the American presidents have been roasted too, as in charity celebrity roast variety, as opposed to just told bad things about. A lot of directors have been roasted as well, actors turned directors. So I think Clint Eastwood has been, just because he can be really hard to work with and doesn't really give you much for direction, from what I understand. You sort of get, from what I understand, you get the Dirty Harry stare through most of your work, and then if he suddenly likes it, it's sort of the first time you'll see anything but that stare. I think we've met the bar on that one. So I'm going to flip it. Let's see, we've got 4 games that contain letter tiles or cards as components. Letter tiles or cards, I think. So I'm assuming they also mean letter cards. And I'm assuming in this case that they're probably meaning non-digital offline games. Or non-TV games, such as Scrabble, for example. I mean, in our house, we've got Scrabble and we've got Bananagrams. I guess that's another one. What's another one I'm thinking of? If you're allowing it, it's a stretch. But if you're allowing it, then the way the game on a Countdown is played on television would qualify, as opposed to the random generation that we use in our stream here, because people get to pick certain number of vowels and a certain number of consonants, and those are actually done as cards that go up on a wall. I think Boggle is usually done with dice, as is Word Yahtzee. But yeah, you're right, those do have letters. And Boggle has also had another name. It's kind of funny, but years and years ago, so when I was a kid, there was basically I don't know if Boggle came first or if Boggle was the name they gave to copying an existing game. But we used to have one off the letter dice concept that was Spill and Spell, which is virtually Boggle. It's the same thing. Yeah, exactly, Spill and Spell. I mean, in the same way that Words with Friends is a Scrabble knockoff, right? And yet, apparently, the owners, I think it's Hasbro, but of the official Scrabble, are actually quite annoyed that Words with Friends is taking the world by storm enough in the last several years that people are actually, buying the board game version of that after they've seen it with digital, rather than buying the original Scrabble. And I think it's partly that Scrabble has such a weird reputation when it comes to competitiveness that gets in the, I guess the background news. This is a complete derail and squirrel off to the side for a second, but I always find it amusing when I manage to hit the bed just the right time so that as you head to bed and you look up, the moon is there, but then when you wake up from the sleep, the moon happens to be at the exact same precise point to just look like it suddenly fills in, and then it's your sun going up. I know it's not one of those things that takes talent, but it doesn't often happen that I actually hit it almost exactly the opposite side of the rotation. I shouldn't be amused by that, but I was. Where am I? Where was I? Did I actually finish that section up? Huh. Okay. Nope, not quite. We got some over here. But yeah, so we've got a couple. Yeah, you and I both thought of for Fantastic Sherlock Fox, and I both thought of Scrabble and Bananagrams. And it says or cards. Not sure about any word cards. Does anybody know of any games with letter cards? I mean, it's just saying 4 games with cards. Then there's plenty of games with cards. That's an easy one. But I think they meant letter cards. And I don't know of any letter cards. Not even ones for kids. Actually, maybe that's not quite true. I once played a version of Authors, which is virtually Go Fish. It's the same thing, pretty much. But in this particular variety of Authors, it was meant to be more difficult. And so you actually had to try and collect the names of certain famous authors. The box contained a list of who was in there. And it wasn't long ones. I mean, there's no way on earth you'd manage to easily collect, say, Shakespeare. But you'd get things like Doyle. I think they had Chaucer in there. And I'm trying to remember who else. There was a whole bunch. But you actually had to try and collect, in a Go Fish format, collect the letters to spell the author's name to be able to sort of win that book, so to speak. And that was kind of an interesting twist. Not a very popular game, so I'm not too surprised that we did other things with those cards that ended up actually ruining the deck, because it was kind of a dumb game, to be honest with you. I did actually play a different version of Authors, where quite literally it was just the instead of having 4 suits or whatever you would have with a normal deck of cards, you would actually have to collect 4 authors to be able to collect that book. So instead of all the 9s or all the whatever, then you'd end up with, do you have, I don't know, an Alice in Wonderland? And then there'd just be 4 different colors of that book. So it was kind of a weird one. I love the art style on it though, because I remember having like Bunny on the Alice in Wonderland one, and what's it? I think they had the standard stereotype detective look on a Sherlock Holmes book, and some other fancy art book ones. But yeah, it's like, but you just play it Go Fish style. Okay, let's roll that one. Name one Disney character who has been a sports coach. Oh, I'll cover that one off. And that would be Goofy. Goofy has tried to be a sports coach, was terrible. And I felt sorry for his son Max in that one because, yeah. Pete has also coached plenty of teams, exactly. Okay. So we've got Goofy and Pete. I'm not going to let it run the 5 minutes. I think Mickey has played on sports teams. Donald Duck has played on sports teams, but I don't think that either of them has coached a sports team. Because I don't think Donald ever got, like, they ever set him up as a coach for his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That was usually one of the other crazy characters like Launchpad. I mean, Launchpad Launchpad McQuack, I think his name was, looked like he was some sort of ex-football guy. I think they might have even had him in football gear once or twice, but he definitely would not be great. Yeah, Donald Duck as a coach would be rough. Would you understand him? And even if you understood him, how would you keep him from pitching a fit? Which would be a complete waste of time on the field. Let's see, rock and roll. 2 films in which actors play themselves. Aha. Okay. Not one that I know, but I know they exist. How's that? Two films in which actors play themselves. I guess we would be using biopics, and most actors don't appear in their own biopic. Now, I guess that celebrity cameos would probably count here. I suppose. The ones where... Oh, right. I forgot about that one. Yeah. And that's another one of those great examples, you know, with the celebrity biopic thing. And I think, actually, in the horrible film Trekkies, I'm pretty sure that William Shatner showed up in that one. And yes, as a sometime fan of Star Trek, far less so than I used to be, I would not say I ever got to the level of Trekkies. Those people can be a little bit obsessive. Cosplay is one thing, but trying to argue with people over what's right and what's wrong, yeah. It's one thing to learn a language that was fully constructed over time, as in people actually bother to learn and speak Klingon in the same way that they learn to speak Elvish, which is still boggles my mind as to why you'd bother, but anyway. But for people who try to argue when, like, you, on the internet every once in a while you'll find videos of people who are more into the Vulcan-Romulan twist for Star Trek, space aliens and all that, but and then try to argue with somebody when they're mispronouncing a Klingon word. That's I've seen videos like that where people are doing it, sort of posted tongue-in-cheek in the oh my goodness, look what I caught happening at a con. I can't believe people are this wound up in the fandom. But I mean, people can obsess about just about anything. So why not that? There are people that argue about Lord of the Rings material. There are some people that are apologists for the Amazon show. Like, not me, I'll tell you that. It didn't interest me enough to watch. Let's put it that way. There are people, or one could say there are people who apologize, or try to, yeah, I guess apologists is probably the best word for it, who try to fit movies 7, 8, and 9 into the Star Wars canon, and try to explain how they actually do fit with the extended universe. It's like, no, the legend stuff, they don't fit. There's far too much that outright contradicts it. But then again, depending on what videos you watch on the internet these days, they claim that what Disney's doing afterwards with the before material or in-between material, between 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5, 6, is ruining the whole thing anyways, and is attempting to rewrite 4, 5, and 6 while not directly contradicting it. It changes the meanings of stuff that was done in the latter films, and that bugs me to no end. But I mean, there's a point at which we're going to have to come up with, pull a page out of Star Trek, where they now have, the original universe, as some call it, versus the J.J. Abrams universe. And there's two different timelines, and they don't necessarily cross in any way that makes logical sense. I think we've had 2 films in which actors play themselves, and I've gone on for the rest of the 5 minutes, so let's hit the timer. I really should get it to trigger the timer, actually, on screen when we hit a geek out, but because then you guys would know how easy it is to get it changed. Pop culture movies, 4 film series with 4 or more sequels. It's been a while since we've had this question. So it's 4 film series or franchises with 4 or more sequels. So Star Wars is clearly one of them. We just mentioned that. Harry Potter, indeed, for sure. And The Fast and the Furious is getting to be definitely one of those. Without even straying too far into the realm of animation yet, if we go into the animation side, we've also got, like, The Land Before Time. That one, I think they've got, they're up into 14 or something, or maybe somebody told me they were closer to 20. I can't recall if that was true or not. Yeah, The Land Before Time has far too many. Unfortunately, The Little Mermaid is heading that direction. There's a good bunch of made-for-TV films. Yeah, How to Train Your Dragon. What are they up to now? I think it's 4 total, but I'm not sure. I'll have to figure that one out. Derailing on the How to Train Your Dragon front. The theme for our youth, for our scout youth this year, for what we call Cubborama. So it's basically, for lack of a better term, it's a provincial jamboree for the Cubs. So these are the 8 to 10-year-olds. And basically it's just the same length as a regular camp, but multiple different groups are invited. And the Cubborama, what do we call it? I can't remember what it was called. The Cubborama theme this year, yes. Cubborama theme from the organizers is that it's going to be Vikings and Dragons. Now, the intent, from what I understand, was supposed to be something like a safe D&D, is sort of where the idea was coming from what I understand. It turns out it's our group, like the older kids. It's older kids at our group that are actually organizing for everybody this year. They're organizing the whole program. They hand it off, and so, but it's our group that got volunteered to organize it this year. And the idea was it was supposed to be D&D related. However, they very, very quickly realized that the age group that they were targeting isn't often allowed to play D&D. It's not because of any, like, it may not be because of, people think it's evil or anything like that. I mean, that may still be a thing, I don't know. But they often don't play D&D, and it's partially that, and it's also partially that D&D can be one of those things that to get your kids into when you initially start can be a little on the expensive side, and some parents don't want to do that. And it's also something that kids can't do on their own, out of sight of all their friends. I don't know anybody who's successfully able to play D&D solo, at least not very well. There are solo games available on the internet, but not a ton of them. Did I get that block? No. Come on. There we go. But anyways, so they ended up having to switch their topic, and it's officially Dragons and Vikings, but the reality is it's How to Train Your Dragon. Just because the age group, they allows them to make it a little more Disney-ish. Or not Disney-ish, but kidified. But they of course have to avoid intellectual property problems. How many sequels does Final Destination have? Because it's never the final destination. It says movies, so we can't necessarily count series, although sometimes I wonder if Stargate was getting close. If you count, like, the Offspin series. yeah. So our theme for the youth this summer is going to be dragons and Vikings and stuff. And it'll be interesting to see because some groups will probably come at it from the How to Train Your Dragon angle. Some groups may come at it from a Dungeons and Dragons angle. Some of them may come at it from a Lord of the Rings type angle. Some of them might actually even come at it from something along the lines of, say, Braveheart for the dragons, and it's more dragons and knights, but dragons, and then have trouble getting them not to come at it from an HBO Vikings angle, because that's not necessarily family friendly enough for our scouts. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the various groups come up with as attendees, because the Coverama has every group design a gate to their camping area. So they have to build a 3D gate for their camping zone, and then there's a parade day where everybody's encouraged to wear a costume. So that'll be kind of an interesting twist to see how that one goes. Last year's theme was Sasquatch, which I thought was kind of fun. We can't seem to get rid of Sasquatch in our world because it seems like there's an awful lot of the Bigfoot Sasquatch stuff. That was the theme for Coverama last year. That was the theme for the previous Coverama because they broke for COVID gap. So they just figured they could recycle the theme to make it easy on the theming side of things and allow the new organizers that picked up the mantle when the program restarted to have to worry about the other logistics less so than the theming part of the programming. Thank you very much. All right. So we've got that, and then this year's group. What do you call it? It's like a national activity theme. So a national group comes up with a bunch of activities and ideas, and usually it's in the spring and in the fall, or at least once a year, where they have sort of a theme, and then they have a whole bunch of activities around it. Like one year it was Dragon Quest. Another year it was Around the World. I can't remember the other. The other was one year was a Grade 8. And so there was a bunch of different areas involving scouting themes that you would expect, outdoors and so on, compass work and like lashings and all that kind of jazz that you would expect. But then this year, starting later this month, Murphy's Law is once again Sasquatches. Sasquatch Seeker. Part of the reason for that is because in Canada, our sort of symbolic chief scout is Les Stroud of Survivorman fame, and so this, as they did with the Grade 8 challenge, Les will be making up little YouTube videos in cooperation with our National Scout program every week to announce the next piece of the challenge. But he's also been of late very heavily involved on his YouTube channel with an awful lot of Sasquatch story type stuff. Like he's on to season 4 of people's Sasquatch sighting stories. So I actually wonder if they chose the topic simply because it works well with something he's already been doing as a way of making it less work for him. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So I'm starting to get Sasquatched to death. That you refuse to watch Final Destination due to it not being a single movie. Yeah. Well, and as I understand it, it was done in such a way that it's partial movies all the way along. Where are we here? Yeah. So it's partial movies all the way along but they're packaged as each one of them is near the end. Or it's all supposed to be a Final Destination. It's not like Final Destination Part 1 and we're going to get to partway to our Final Destination. No, it's like each one's supposed to be a Final Destination, and that kind of ruins the whole thing. Sam Squatches, yes. Okay. I'm going to keep this part of the story shorter than it probably is, although it's going to seem long, I'm afraid. We have a youth for whom the whole Sasquatch thing is a bit of a family lore business. Some of their families from Saskatchewan, some of their families from East Coast provinces of Canada. part of Newfoundland, I think. Lurk, time to make dinner. Ooh, hopefully it'll be something super yummy. So anyways, so they have a family story about the Samsquatch, which it's really just a mispronunciation of Sasquatch. But yeah, it talks about, one of their grandparents had actually met a Sasquatch out in the woods, and so they know very well what one should look like, and yeah, it got a little bit overboard. So this particular girl is very, very head over heels for Sasquatches and Sasquatch memorabilia, but she's picky about what Sasquatch stories she's willing to believe in terms of, like, when people say they've actually seen one and actually met one, because if it doesn't fit with what her grandfather said, then she says, no, that's got to be made up. I find really kind of corny, but whatever. So yeah, I'll be really glad when we are Sasquatched and Samsquatched out, Bigfooted out. But the whole Samsquatch thing was a little bit crazy. But yeah, so our group jokingly refers to them as Samsquatches, just a sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing for her, which I find kind of amusing only insofar as apparently, from what I understood from her father, who's one of our co-leaders, that the Samsquatch thing was actually the way the grandfather pronounces it, and insists on that's the correct way, that everybody else has it wrong. Even though it sounds a lot like when you get a kid saying a word that they just can't pronounce correctly yet, and then when they get older you can correct them and they'll eventually pick up the right version. So like, your kid that'll say pack instead of a backpack when they don't quite catch it, and that eventually they realize, oh, that's just a kid way of saying things, so they stop doing it eventually. Well, that's the idea anyways. Well, this Samsquatch thing seems to fall in that category for me, but it looks like it's never been changed, so I don't know. We'll have to see. Well, actually, what's kind of amusing to me, Pack is rough, but it's kind of amusing to me because I'm thinking about suggesting that we riff off that for our youth's Pacific Jamboree batch. So the older batch, 11 to 14, are doing a trip to a Pacific Jamboree on Canada's west coast this year, and we need to make a group badge for it. So we're going to split our like hex or whatever into two. But the mascots that the organizers had come up with look an awful lot like Dora the Explorer characters. We don't know if it's supposed to be like they have not confirmed that they weren't doing that, but it does look like it. So we were thinking of riffing off of that because they look so much like Dora the Explorer characters, to try and design our badge similarly. And I'm thinking, making a backpack character called Pack might be kind of... It would annoy the heck out of our daughter, but I think it would be hilarious. And actually, it would probably annoy our son, too, because it was somebody in his grade that used to say stuff like that. But, I mean, this kid got into grade 3 or grade 4 still saying words like Pack. Who does that? I mean, her mom's a bus driver, or was a bus driver as well. And so she's around kids a lot. I get it. But that's something you would like to grow out of, because there's a point at which other kids will not see you as mature if you keep using words like that. I will admit, to annoy the Cubs, when one of them, is impolite and steals a crayon from not crayon, so like a pencil crayon, from one of the other Cubs during an art activity, I have on occasion come up close to them and I've said, "Swiper, no swiping," and they gave you the stink eye for it. But it's ones that normally I can get away with teasing, not the ones that have been flippant and rude to us of late. Because, yeah, as much as I would love to say stuff like that to the ones that tend to be flippant, you can't really do that, because then you're just asking for trouble. It's their version of thinking they can give as good as they get, which is not the case. Not that I'm any good at hidden insults or anything like that, but you kind of can't do that. Yeah, Scouts Canada is a little picky about people, that kind of goofiness can be seen as harassment, which is dumb, but whatever. Whatever. The rules are different these days. Yeah, so the backpack thing I think might be kind of fun, because they don't have a backpack mascot character for this particular Jamboree camp, as far as I know. I think they have one that's supposed to be a hiking boot, like one of the classic leather hiking boots, but it has a face on it. And I'm trying to remember what else they've got. There's one that looks kind of like a map, but once again, they can't actually, you know, use Dora the Explorer's shapes, so I don't know if this was meant to be a riff on it or not, but they definitely look like it. Our group can't unsee it. We've tried. We've tried looking for other things, and we just can't unsee these things looking like Dora characters, so that's part of why I think that our group's going to go that road. The thing is just, or the challenge there is just getting the art to support that. So even though one would think Dora the Explorer art would be easy to draw, it's actually not as easy as you'd think. And so it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. What is this? I don't have anything at the moment currently showing me the durability. However, I do have a piece in the inventory profiles next that will warn me when there's only 10 points of damage, or sorry, 10 points of durability left, that it will try and swap it. But I keep thinking that's going to happen, and it hasn't yet. So I don't want to waste a space on another pick if I don't have to. Yet, if I don't, yeah, it's just, I'm being dumb about it. Let's put it that way. Shulker box. I wanted... That's a dirt box, okay. Right? Dirt, yes. This way, go that way. Oops. Ah. There we go. And I want stone. This one. Okay, that one's done. That's random odds and ends. Get another stone box out. Organized up. Right, let's throw this one down. This dirt pile never seems to actually get full. It's kind of weird. Okay. These three. One. Let's clean up some of this mess. And I don't want to fall in that cave, but the more I uncover it, the more I hate the cave. Alright, Fourth Stairs, we've got 4 more sequels. Let's roll that one. One character from Ant Farm. Does anybody remember that movie? I don't. Ant Farm TV? I remember the name, that's as far as I can get, as in I've heard it. The problem is, even my visual on what the picture might have looked like the poster and stuff, is actually far more, I believe is probably more of Johnny Mnemonic, so that doesn't help. Hello, chicken. Gee, I must have dropped an awful lot down there. Huh. And they just don't despawn while I wander away. Okay, that's fine. Don't like Ant Farm. I don't know why, but I just don't. There we go. 4 titles not originally written in English. Now, Fantastic Sherlock Fox, I know Murakami can count. Let's try and go with only one of his, if need be. I mean, in the same way that, like, Hugo, Victor Hugo's books, really only need one from that category. Actually, if we can find... Let me correct that. I guess that's not a fair assessment, because I can name at least one Murakami book. So I think it's Haruki Murakami, and the one I'm thinking of is IQ84, off the top of that. Ooh, do tell, Gary. I'm very, very curious. I don't know what a hatake is. So please do tell. I would love to know. Because if you didn't tell me what it was, it sounds an awful lot like a Klingon thing. And I'm not sure if that's really what you wanted. Huh. Hey, Jerry Darts, how are you doing? Ah, I see. Okay. That's cool. There are some seriously cool spaceships in sci-fi. They don't have to make logical sense when it's fiction. Yeah, Les Mis, Homer's Iliad, the Jurgathian Conspiracy, which is Greek. Yeah, and then we've got, as I mentioned, we've got the Murakami's are all in Japanese. I'm sure a bunch of us have read Beowulf in school, which was definitely not English exactly. Not English in the modern sense, anyway. The Three Musketeers, that was French, wasn't it? And then a classic one like Cyrano de Bergerac. My interesting question, actually, to go with this one, if we end up with titles that were not originally written in English, would be, has anyone ever remembered reading a book, could be one that we've already listed, that was not originally written in English, but when you read it in English, you didn't realize that it was originally written in another language? Either didn't realize or, I guess, were impressed that it wasn't originally in English? From what I gather, like where I'm coming from this angle is, like Les Mis got translated fairly well. Pretty basic, but fairly well. But I mean, there are, in essence, award grade translations of some of the Murakami works, which is weird because, not weird, I guess, but it's not, like, translation isn't necessarily a direct thing when it comes to novels, to sell them in other countries. You need to be able to find translators that can do a great job of translating what is, in essence, the meanings in behind the book or the words. And sometimes that involves knowing more about a cultural change or cultural differences. I don't know if it was Swedish, but yeah, it definitely was a non-English one for sure. For sure. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. That actually makes a lot more sense. Having visited Sweden as a youth in the mid-90s, some of the things that you've told me, Fox, about just the generic city culture stuff in A Man Named Ove wasn't all that different than North America, but certain elements of it make more sense when I think of it from a Scandinavian point of view. And I mean, there are books that were, you know, very, very clearly written in other languages that were translated to English so that people could read them. For example, and yes, I'm only going to hit this up once, not to go deep, but I mean, just about everybody and their dog knows that there's English translations available now of the German Mein Kampf. Not ever on my reading list, but it's one of those, it exists. Just to say that, it exists. I mean, there's similarly, there's translations of books by Mao. There are, I know we joke on the internet a lot about Confucius Says, but a lot of the real person Confucius have had their works translated into English. So those are ones where we would know they were written in other languages first. And a very good amount of classical, what do you call them? Guru type works, I guess, because I don't know the right term, were actually written not in English anyway. A combination of Hebrew and Greek depending on the book. So yeah. Yeah, that's a good Scrolls one. Given the context of our conversation, I wouldn't say we're straying into religion per se, because because whether you think it's a fiction book or a real book, or fiction book or non-fiction book, is irrelevant when we just talk about the language it was originally put down in. So yeah. But definitely, yeah, we wouldn't. It's one of those ones we wouldn't necessarily need as many scholars if the book was written in English. Although, let me scratch that. Because we have a whole ton of people that are like, say, for example, Lord of the Rings scholars, and we know that they were, like that book, or let me correct that, that world and series of books about the world were created in English. I mean, I guess it's not even books, titles. Okay. So titles wouldn't qualify necessarily. I was going to say, we've got like Rosetta Stone stuff, but here's an interesting thing though. I had heard once, and I don't know if it's true, but I had heard that some of the books that eventually were printed on, say, Gutenberg and Renaissance material that were picked up from the East. So part of what rescued the Western world's knowledge was the fact that the Eastern world actually had a lot of copies of the Western world stuff. Some of it they come up with on their own, but a lot of it was copies of the Western world stuff from before the quote-unquote Dark Ages. And but when we got them back, we didn't have titles. Like, titles weren't a thing. It was just written. Just material written. And it's still unclear how the foreign powers that were, possessing and protecting those books actually managed to catalog them and know which is which. So I just thought that was kind of cool that scholars didn't really know how those would have been sorted. So what was the first classification systems that in the new renaissance of information? Yeah, I mean, exactly. The English, as we know it, is really only about 500 years old. Exactly. And even some of the quote-unquote Old English, Middle English, etc., is so based on a mishmash. There was actually a really neat point made by Jay Draper on her YouTube channel the other day, just in a short, noting that she's got, due to the internet, has a lot of Americanisms in her speech now. And I suspect a lot of people overseas do too. Or people in North America will have a few, for lack of a better term, so please do excuse the invented term, UKisms in their speech. I think part of that is because, once again, the internet. Right? We're more familiar in North America with the idea that tire is spelled Tyre overseas, that kind of deal. And where did I start in this round? Okay. But we're getting more people getting used to spelling things in a particularly somewhat universal way. But the good example she gave, perfect, thank you, Fox. Particular example she gave that made me think about it was noting that with the with the bringing of the printing press to the UK, as it has been to a lot of other parts of the world, it caused the death of some versions of words. Example in her case was eggs. So when someone came over from, I can't remember what part of the world they were talking about, but they'd come over and they were speaking English to someone in Suffolk, I think it was, Suffolk area, but the sort of printing press time. And they were working on, just asking, hey, you know, going up to some person's house or whatever, hey, do you have any eggs I could buy? They're like, what? Do you have any eggs? Huh? And then it clued into them, oh, wait a minute. Do you have any ire? EYRES, I believe it was. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I have plenty of those.
Hello there. Hello there.
And then the person realized, you know, that a lot of the regionally used words that even had come from other languages, but were still in use in English at the time, were going to disappear when this person started printing books, because as books spread, the version of the word in the books, which was either explained a dictionary, though that was invented later, but was either explained in there or you could pick it up contextually, it caused a spread of the use of the printed words over the verbal ones, other than pronunciation changes or idioms. But some of the words actually died out, so we didn't use the word ire to mean eggs anymore, because the gentleman had chosen, in not trying to erase the word, just had chosen to use eggs instead of ire, because you only needed one for consistent printing of books. And yeah, and so we have over time lost words, and our language has shifted because of, you know, printing. And the same thing is happening again with the internet. As we say, there's more Americanisms going around, or we're finding even technological changes. I mean, as much as France would absolutely love to be able to successfully police the entirety of the French language, the department has not approved words for some things. So you're getting some shift in the French language by influence from English or Asia or whatever else, when we're picking up other words, particularly branded products, that then become normalized. So the equivalency in English would be, we used to Xerox something as opposed to photocopying things. We don't always anymore, we photocopy now, but Xerox used to be a thing. You know, we use facial tissues, right? That's sort of the thing. But even though that was a coined business term, frequently people will ask for a Kleenex. And that was actually a branded term. So some of the branding type stuff, when that becomes your household word, there's not much anything sort of the language department can do about it. They'd love to, but that's so how there's the concept of official BBC English on television in the UK. Truth is, part of the reason that it exists is because they want it more or less universal across the entire area. And it's funny because there are a lot of people that say, you know, I don't understand the regional pronunciation in certain parts of the US or certain parts of the UK, even in certain parts of Canada. You know, I don't understand the regional pronunciations. But yet when you listen to, say, for example, the news from your national broadcaster, everybody, shouldn't say everybody, but the largest portion of the population gets it, right? This is why my streams are great, is because I've got random facts you'll never use except at a dinner party, which we don't have dinner parties anymore, right? So it's just one of those things. Idioms in terms of phrase. Hey Trey, good to see you.
Greetings.
By the way, hello Neon. I apologize for not saying hello when you dropped in. The funny thing about the mods is they can kind of drop in and drop out as their day goes, and unless they do something very moddy, sometimes I don't even notice. And I feel really bad for that, but I'm just used to not always having them available. Where am I here? Got the top end. Okay, and I was working on the dirt on the bottom end. Let's not. And we'll do a bit more rock in the last 10 minutes or so here. So it's just interesting to note that. The example I often give, actually, and Fantastic Sherlock Fox told me about this one, is, as language shifts. He'll have to write it better than me, and I can't pronounce it worth a hill of beans, so apologies to all concerned. But, like, for example, the Italians, right? Or even actually, I'll even give the North American version. In English, we have a cellular telephone, right? And that's because it's got a cell of coverage, okay? It's a cellular telephone. And that's, I guess, quote unquote, the official phrasing that you would find if one was to try and regulate it, because we have a term for it. That's great. But what's not getting regulated is the way the nicknames come up. So calling it a cell phone, or just simply saying, do you have a cell? A UK equivalent that we ran into is people in Ireland still frequently use the term mobile. It's just, give me a call on your mobile. I think cell will eventually become more popular over there as well, partly because it's a single syllable. But that's hard to say for sure, because while North America seems to be preferring economy of syllables for some forsaken reason, it's hard to say whether that's going to be the case in a part of the world where a concept such as rhyming slang exists. And frankly, when you take a look at different areas that have rhyming slang in them, they're anything but into economy of language. So what's this? Yeah, they're into anything but the economy of language. They'll actually add extra syllables. And if you don't know what the rhyme is, you're just out to lunch. Like, as in, there's no way you're going to figure out what they said. 20, okay, we're good. I'm just going to wait till it says replacement failed. Because with Unbreaking 3, I don't really know how long that's going to be. Placing at 10. Thanks. Thanks for the heads up. There we go. Diamond. Oh, it did replace with Diamond Pickaxe. Excellent. That's been an upgrade to the mod, I suspect. It never used to do that. It used to say it was failed. Though it could be Netherite specifically has an exception. I'm not sure. But yeah. So there's the one I was trying to think of earlier on, but the English version works better. The version I was trying to think of earlier on is when Fantastic Sherlock Fox had told me, I don't even know if it's still the case, but where the Italians would have something like telefono cellulare, and yet a lot of people were actually using the diminutive telefonino, which is still a lot of syllables. But it's the little telephone. A fellow nerd. Oh, I nerd about a lot of things. I am a nerd who married a nerd on purpose. It's actually kind of weird. I'm a bit of a tech nerd as well. Very, very rusty at being a tech nerd. But yeah, definitely. Used to do tech support as a career, but prior to that, I was tech nerd. Well, not tech nerd. Computery, I guess. Enough that some of my earlier jobs, I was officially the receptionist, but I was unofficially also the generic tech support help desk. In the future, neither cell or mobile will be used because it'll be somewhat implied. Landlines are generally getting less and less popular. I think you're right to some extent, but I'm actually wondering if the word phone will survive, because phone actually was related to phonograph, and that term is very, very outdated as it is. So I actually wonder if cell or mobile, one of those two, may survive, and that the word phone would die out. So that you're not going to phone me, you're going to sell me, or mobile me, which sounds really dumb today, but I actually wonder if that sort of thing is going to come up. You know, or just call me. That's what we have now, just call me. And that does not mean to shout across the room. It used to. It no longer does. But that's what it used to mean. And in a quite literal sense. Used to mean in that... Aha, Jen! Hello! How are you?
Welcome.
Jen looks after me. I love it. Okay. So when Jen does that, we have a stretch. Ooh. And I just noticed my face cam has gone weird again. I have an Anchor 300C, which is beautiful, and it has its own app. But what it does is when you set it up with the app, you can choose to have it follow you. So yeah, like this is actually as far as it lets me get. If I go any further, it will actually recenter. But it's currently set on personal mode, which means that it actually zooms in and crops a lot of stuff. But some days it decides that it's going to have enough space that I can have my hands up and do this and be in the shot. Other days it's going to like chop out probably about here, you know? So some days you won't be able to tell I've got a Hogwarts shirt on, even if I'm actually wearing that sweatshirt. Just the way it is. Oh, and I missed the hydrate, so that's for everybody.
2, 4, 6, 8, everybody hydrate!
Proper hydrate. I've never heard that one myself, Terrier, in terms of give us a bell. But I have a kind of impolite habit picked up from my dad, where I will use turns of phrase that don't really fit where I'm from. So, for example, look, when I did tech support, I talked to someone with a UK background, and only once or twice did I ever get caught, I guess you could say, by a customer. And they usually thought it was cute. For subconsciously flipping over to the term ring. So I will ring you was the phrase I would use. When it meant I was giving my phone back and for whatever the reason was. You know, or I'll call you next week just to make sure everything's okay. That's I'll ring you. Yep, or if you have any further problems, just ring me. We're good. And so sometimes I'd get off the phone, because frequently I got stuck as a trainer. And so sometimes I'd get off of a call, and I had the trainee looking at me like I'd lost my mind. It's like, what? What? You told me you'd ring them. Yeah? I'll ring them next week. They're like, you what? We'll give them a phone call next week. And then I clue into what I'd done, and it's like, oh, yeah. The good news is I don't usually pick up an accent. Yeah, I don't usually pick up an accent. There's the odd time that I do, but that's partly because, just because I like a lot of varying region across the pond media. But I don't do it well, and it's only little bits here and there. Whereas my dad, thank heavens you guys never got to hear it. But it would unintentionally come across as, mocking a little bit in the way that you would find some of the racial stuff on The Simpsons. And it wasn't intended to be rude. He was quite literally just talking to a client on the phone for his business as a magician. And so you'd get hired by someone from the northeast part of our city, which has an awful lot of Eastern as in like Indian and Pakistani and whatever type people, and you can imagine somebody who looks sort of like me with unintentionally faking out parts of the lilt of their English is a little bit offensive at times. He's never been called on it as far as I'd ever heard, but it made the rest of us in the family really quite uncomfortable. And he never realized he did it. Like, it was not an on-purpose thing. It just happened. Okay, so we've hit the top of the hour. A buzz. Yes, I use buzz quite a bit, actually. A buzz was one that we used a lot because what does your phone do when it's in silent? Well, it buzzes, right? Or your pager will buzz because, of course, it was back in the day, pager day. Pagers were no fun. I can definitely guarantee that one. Yeah, back in the, late 2000 aughts, I guess? Or, yeah, between 2000 and 2010, more or less. Somewhere in there, we actually had, your on-call was a pager. So when the pager would buzz, all you'd get is a phone number. And really the phone number was just the same one every time because it meant you had to call onto the office, listen to their answering machine to figure out what on earth was going on, and then call the client back. And usually it was something that you could deal with in the morning, but if you didn't call them back, they'd call the emergency line overnight again. It's not intended to have a buzz, but if you put it on a counter and it vibrates, right? That's your silent mode and it's got vibration. Then it will frequently make a buzzing type sound when it vibrates against the counter. I don't know how many of you guys ever played the game, but I used to test it with a few other people. Yes, you're right, Fox, it certainly does. That one sounds unfamily friendly from the get-go. So anyways, we'll put some blocks away so that I can just pick up these ones, and then we'll find someone to raid. It's Tuesday, so we got to find a neat person to raid. Actually, we always need a neat person to raid. Where was I going? Oops, not that. This. I'm so used to having to hold down shift for individual things that I hit shift and the button. That's not what I want. Okay. Sort. That's enough space. Where was I going with this? I can't remember. Oh yeah. So I don't know if you guys ever did this, but particularly if you got a whole bunch of different shaped cell phones back in the day, it was kind of fun to put them down on a table and then have somebody phone them. Difficult to do all at once, but yeah, you have somebody or a bunch of people phone those telephones, and then when they would vibrate, they would start rocking around on the table. Eee, no. Okay, you can go away. Okay, that was the zombies coming towards me. That I can handle. I actually thought it was the crew of, oh, come on. I thought it was the crew of creepers. Hello. Thank you. It was kind of fun to play cell phone racing games. We were really bored. It wasn't a thing. I mean, you'd hear about it in memes a lot. People would play that in the bar, and the loser had to buy the next round of beer. We just thought it was fun to play those kinds of games, but that makes me sound young, and I'm not. Unfortunately, I was very heavily reminded of that this week. No major details beyond what I said at the beginning of the stream. However, where was I going with this? I'm trying to get the story out before I end, but yeah. My first cell phone was actually not that long before starting to date Fantastic Sherlock Fox. Actually, I think my first cell phone was probably about 99, I think. 98, 99, something like that. And I got in so much trouble from my mother if I wouldn't answer the cell phone. So, yeah. One of those. Alright, so let's get our... Ooh, this one... No, not that one. This one. So let's get ourselves out of here, find someone interesting to raid. Of course it's raining. Yes, of course it's raining. Is it oh, it's not a thunderstorm. All right. So we'll get ourselves out of here and pass on to someone else, and I will be back tomorrow. Wow, that was awkward. Yeah. I will be back tomorrow, probably doing a little bit more dig down, but we are getting fairly close to enough space. I know I said I wanted to go down to the beacons and make everything dead flat, but it might be a good idea not to. So I'll work on deciding that one. Let's see. We've got one suggestion of where to go. Let's see what else we can find. Or at least see what that person's up to. Well, thanks, Yellow. It's always a pleasure. I mean, Work Lurk is going to be a tag that I'm probably going to stick on the end of the stream, even though it didn't affect today's stream, but that makes it easy when I change titles tomorrow. So, we've got first answer in the stream, whether you want Groova or Gutty. Groova's working on a perimeter, Gutty's on his hardcore world. So you guys, first one I see in the stream is where we're going. Because they're both fairly new, like fairly recent go-lives. Tuesday's really quiet, though, for what I tend to watch. Groova! Okay, Groova it is. Ha ha ha! Wow, we got one of each. Let's go Groova, I think, just because he's a bit more chill background as well, so we can just... Ooh. I think I'm gonna go Groova, and the reason for that is not because we haven't been there in a while, but because his stream can be a little more chill. Whereas Gutty's is great, but it has its ups and downs of a little bit of wild, which is, it's all right. But not really where my head's at today. So let's get the raid started, then I'll say thanks to everybody. Let's see if I can get these to work today. Boom. Happy buttons? Yay, happy buttons. All right. You know, the last comment I'm going to make just before we go is if you do want to watch both, and I know it doesn't work well on mobile, but even in a tablet web browser, I've noticed that my favorite simultaneous or multi-stream watching page, I'm partial to simultwitch.tv, because then you can have two different chats going down the side at the same time, and you can log in, so you do still continue to get your points. But I use simultwitch.tv, and definitely is the one I would say give it a shot if you guys are doing that sort of thing, because then it allows you to be in two places at once, and I use that a lot when we've got 2 points of view, say Jen Fiber and Jade all at once. So in other words, you know, there's options. So I'm going to go take us all to Groova and finish it off. Ooh, ad breaks. Boo.
Mischief managed.
All right there. So you guys know the drill. If you're into emotes, they are there for you. Top one for subscribers, and the bottom one is for everybody else. If you have feedback, you know the drill for that one as well. Positive, negative, or otherwise. So any feedback you like, feel free to just toss it in the Discord, even if you don't end up sticking around. That's still helpful. I want to say thank you very much to our team of moderators, including Neon and Fantastic Sherlock Fox and Benson. Thank you to Conversation from Bobreen, Yellow, and Gary. Nemery's Live, Yops, Star Wars, Terrier Darts, Trey the Nerd, and Jen. Always good to have everybody hanging around. If you were just chilling and lurking, be it at work, be it at home, be it in your car or on the street, that's fine. Have yourselves a great day, and I shall be back tomorrow. Today is Tuesday, so tomorrow, same time, same place, and another 2-hour aim for tomorrow. So have a great time. I will see you on the flip side. Bye-bye for now.
Transfer complete.